Alright, adding and subtracting linear equations. When you add and subtract linear equations, distribute if necessary. So you're wanting to, this is just like distributive property, except for now there's multiple expressions that you're combining. So get rid of the distributive property to get rid of the parentheses, and then combine like terms. So number 1, 2x plus 3 plus x plus 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look right before my first parentheses. There's nothing here for me to distribute. In front of my second parentheses, it's just a plus sign. There's no number there, so there's nothing there to distribute. So I'm going to rewrite this without parentheses, because nothing's being done to the first expression, so it's just 2x plus 3. And this plus sign is not going to change anything in this parentheses, so it's just plus x plus 4. Once you have rewritten your expression without parentheses, then it's the same thing as combining like terms, which is the first thing that we learned in this unit. I have a 2x plus x, which is 3x, and then I have a positive 3 plus 4, which is 7. So my answer to number 1 is 3x plus 7. Number 2, 5 times 3/4 x minus 4 plus 2x minus 7. So unlike number 1 and number 2, there's something that I can distribute. I have 5 times 3/4 x minus 4. So I'm going to distribute this 5 to everything inside this parentheses. Only the parentheses that it's right in front of. Don't distribute the 5 to anything else in this linear expression. 5 times 3/4. To multiply a fraction by a whole number, put your whole number over 1, and then multiply straight across. 5 times 3 is 15. 1 times 4 is 4. I'm going to leave that as 15 over 4 for right now. We'll simplify at the very end. So that's 15 over 4x. 5 times, when you're distributing inside parentheses, circle the number and the sign in front of it. So this minus 4 is telling me that I'm doing 5 times negative 4. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. So I'm going to write minus 20. Now my second set of parentheses, I have a plus sign in front of it, which means everything inside these parentheses is going to stay the same. So I'm just going to bring down plus 2x minus 7. Once I've eliminated the parentheses, then I can combine like terms. 15 over 4x plus 2x. So I'm going to add 15 over 4 plus 2. When you add fractions, I'm going to turn my whole number into a fraction by putting it over 1. Now I have to have a common denominator. The smallest number that 4 and 1 can both go into is 4. So I'm going to multiply this fraction by 4 over 4 to get 8 over 4. So now I can add 15 over 4 plus 8 over 4. 15 plus 8 is 23. Keep your denominator. To turn that into a mixed number, I see how many times will 4 go into 23. 4 will go into 23 5 times with 3 left over. So that's 5 3/4 x. Then I have negative 20 minus 7. If I have negative 20 minus 7, I have to use additive inverse. I'm going to keep my first number, change subtraction to addition, take the opposite of the second number. My signs are the same, so I add. 20 plus 7 is 27, and they're both negative, so my answer is negative 27. So the answer to this linear equation is 5 3/4 x minus 27. Number 3, my first expression is 2x plus 19, and I'm adding 2 times 3 1/10 x minus 10. So my first expression, there's nothing outside this parentheses, so nothing inside the parentheses is changing. I'm just going to write it down. 12x plus 19. In my second part of this linear expression, I'm distributing a 2. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 3.1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And I have 1 decimal place. It's positive, so I'm going to add 6 2/10 x. Then I distribute 2 to my second number. I'm going to circle that number and the sign in front of it to show me that I'm multiplying 2 times negative 10. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 10 is 20, so that's negative 20. Now that I've eliminated the distributive property, I've gotten rid of all my parentheses, I'm going to combine like terms. 12x plus 6 2/10 x is 18 2/10 x. 19 minus 20. I can't take 20 from 19, so I have to use additive inverse. 19 plus negative 20. I have different signs, so I subtract. 20 minus 19 is 1. My bigger number is negative, so my answer is negative. 18 2/10 x minus 1. Number 4, x plus 7 plus 6 times x plus 3. So there's nothing in front of this parentheses, so there's nothing to distribute. I just write down x plus 7. For the second part of this linear expression, I'm going to multiply by distributing 6 times x is 6x, and 6 times positive 3 is 18. Now I can combine like terms. X plus 6x is 7x, and 7 plus 18 is 25. 7x plus 25. All right, when you're subtracting linear expressions, so we just learned how to add them. Now we're going to subtract them. One of the very first things that we learned in 7th grade was absolute value. While we were learning absolute value, we threw in things that look like this. The opposite of 3. And what we did with that was we took the opposite of what was inside those parentheses, and it gave us negative 3. We did that because when there's no number here, just like when a variable doesn't have a coefficient, when parentheses don't have a number in between the sign and the parentheses, it's like there's a 1 there. It's like saying negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. That's why you take the opposite of what's inside parentheses. Subtracting linear expressions is the same way. We have 6x plus 3 minus 2x plus 2. So when we distribute the subtraction into everything inside the second set of parentheses, all we're doing is taking the opposite of those numbers. So there's nothing being done to our first expression, so we just write down 6x plus 3. I'm subtracting 2x plus 2, so I'm taking the opposite of those things. I'm literally subtracting 2x and subtracting 2. Now that I've rewritten my problem without parentheses, it's just like adding linear expressions. You combine like terms. 6x minus 2x is 4x, and 3 minus 2 is 1. So my answer is 4x plus 1. All right, number 6. 2 times 1/4 x minus 9 minus 2x minus 7. So the first thing we're going to do is distribute the 2 to our first parentheses. 2 times 1/4. When I multiply 2 over 1 times 1 over 4, I'm going to simplify first because 2 and 4 will both simplify by 2. 2 will divide by 2 one time. 4 will divide by 2 two times. That leaves me with 1/2. So 2 times 1/4 is 1/2 x. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. Now that I've distributed the 2 to my first parentheses, I'm now going to distribute this minus sign or this negative sign to everything in the second parentheses by taking the opposite of those numbers. The opposite of 2x is negative 2x. The opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. So you're taking the opposite of what's inside those parentheses. Now I combine like terms. 1/2 x minus 2x. 1/2 minus 2. I have to have a common denominator when I'm subtracting fractions. My common denominator is going to be 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2, which gives me negative 4 over 2. And 1 minus 4 is negative 3. Then I have negative 18 plus 7. Different signs we subtract and take the sign of the highest number. So that's negative 11. Negative 1 and 1/2 x minus 11. 4x minus 4 minus negative 2x plus 2. There's nothing to do to this first expression, so we're just going to bring down 4x minus 4. I'm going to take the opposite, because it's subtracting, so we're taking the opposite of negative 2x, which is positive 2x. The opposite of positive 2, or adding 2, is negative 2, or subtracting 2. Now I combine like terms. 4x plus 2x is 6x. Negative 4 minus 2. We use additive inverse to keep our first number. Change subtraction to addition. Take the opposite of the second number. My signs are the same, so I add and keep the sign. 6x minus 6. 3 times 1.5. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 4 and 5/10 x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. And negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. Now I combine like terms. 4.5x minus 4x. We line up our decimals. 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 minus 0 is 0. My bigger number is positive, so this is 5/10 x. Negative 8 minus 6. I use additive inverse. Keep your first number. Change subtraction to addition. Take the opposite of the second number. 8 plus 6 is 14. Both of them are negative, so my answer is negative. 5/10 x minus 14.